Spencer is a wonderful, delightful town that is a bit west of Worcester. I highly recommend everyone go out and take a look. It's got all sorts of beautiful parks, and one of the very cool places that it has is the St. Joseph Abbey. The Abbey has a brewery and all sorts of jams and jellies that they make there. And the building itself is a Trappist monastery, and it's open to the public. The grounds there are places that you don't want to go because you don't want to disturb the monks, but most of the grounds are really, really pretty. It used to be a farm up there, and it's perched on the top of a hill. And they've got all sorts of pretty outlooks and places to have a picnic and just places to go walking and so on. So the Spencer Abbey, got a different picture. This is one view of it, and it's got benches around to sit on, and in this case there's all sorts of pretty layouts with the stone and the bell tower and so on. And there's this round stone tower over here, and then I made a zoom in of that, so that's just the round stone tower. And this is a great project to work on because it starts out simple, and if you want to practice with simple you can do that, but if you want to be more creative and add other fantastical kinds of elements, this is a perfect starting point. So what I'm going to do is work on this in different manners to give you some different kinds of ideas of how to celebrate the Spencer's beauty. And you can go out to the Abbey and visit it, so you can practice this from home, and then if you want to take a trip out there, it's very wide open, so you can do it with easy social distancing. It's free. And it's nice in all sorts of weather. It looks very pretty in the snow, looks pretty in the fall foliage, and so on. So let's start with pencil, because pencil is usually something that most of us have around. And it's a good place to start. Alright, so I have some drawing paper, but you can use whatever kind of paper you have. If all you have is yellow lined paper, that's fine. If you have white printer paper, that's fine. You can draw on anything, and that's part of the beauty of it. My cat is pondering coming over, so if the cat comes over, it's probably better that he come over now when we are just talking about drawing and not over later when we are talking about watercoloring. So hello, this one is Felix. I have Felix, which is a brother, and Zuzu, which is the sister. They are litter mates. He's going to climb all over everything. But luckily he did not push any important keys on my keyboard, which is, all that really matters. Alright, so we got a piece of paper. We have a cat who is leaving the desk and hopefully going over somewhere else without knocking too many things over on his way, because that's just the way he rolls. And we need a pencil with a point. I do have a pencil sharpener, but for some reason some of these pencils don't seem to sharpen very well, so it's better if I just find one that has a point already. Here we go. Pencil with a point. So, what should we do? One method for drawing things, if you're getting started, is to use tracing paper. Oh boy, that's watercolor paper. Tracing paper, and you can see that I use this one for a rocket. And then graphite paper, which is what you use to transfer the image that you've traced down onto your destination paper. And I do a different workshop on using tracing paper and graphite paper. So if you want a reasonably exact duplicate of it, this is one way to get started and to get some practice in doing this sort of thing. But we're going to do it freehand this time. And I'm going to do this to show you, because my hands tend to be a little shaky, to not worry about it if you are not the most perfect drawer or the most accurate drawer, because part of the beauty of being an artist is that you are making your own personal recreation. So if you really care about being accurate, and that's the kind of look you're going for, you can get the tracing paper and the graphite, and you can get rulers and all those other kinds of things. But if you're looking to show your unique vision of the scene, then it's okay to let those kinds of things go and to say, okay, you know, there's plenty of impressionists out there who did rough representations of scenes, and their art is pretty too. So you will do what you want to do, and that will be okay. So when I look at this scene, I am thinking I could just draw pretty much a rectangle and then make little dotted spots in it, but I'm going to make this a little more interesting. I'm going to represent my own unique vision of this. So I'm going to push that stuff a little, and I'm going to put my piece of paper sideways. And I think that I am going to put the tower on the right, and then I am going to put something on the left, maybe some extra little castle parts. I'm going to turn this into a base of a castle, and that way I have the design for the castle, and then I will be able to expand on it. So let me put this over here. Alright, so I'm sort of drawing at an angle too, because I have to work around the tripod that this camera is on. So it even just adds more challenges to me getting this straight. Maybe I'll move my keyboard up a little so I have somewhere to rest my hand. There we go. Get the cat fur off of this. Alright, so you always want to leave space around the edge of your picture, because if you decide to frame this at some point, the way frames work is they tend to cover the edges of it. So the more that you can have non-important stuff at the edges, you don't want your design to go out to the very edge. You want to have just sky or grass or something around the four edges, and that way when you put the frame around it or the mat around it or whatever, you're not covering up something important like the tower. So you wouldn't want to put the tower right at the edge here. We'll put it in a little bit. So we'll start the tower over here. How's that? And you see it's not quite straight, but I am okay with that. I'm drawing at an angle. I'm drawing sideways. And this is an example. But the idea is you just do what you're going to do. Alright, is that sort of what it is? Yeah. And then we got that piece. Now the grass comes up like this. And actually, we're not going to do that side yet because I have some thoughts. So we're going to put in the door. Alright. And I'm going to pretend that this is part of a medieval kind of setup, because that's the way that I like to do things. So I am going to add a crenellated top to it. Crenellated is when it has the wiggly up and down areas, and that let archers in the old days hide between them and protect the castle from marauding attacking troops. Alright. Alright, so it's got a crenellated top. Now, what else does it have over here? Let's say that there's a gate at this tower, and the reason it only has, I said there was a door, but it's high up off the ground, so that's probably some sort of a window. Let's say it's a window. And then we get some shutters. It's a closed window. There we go. So now, how does someone get into this tower? Maybe it's connected to a bigger building, and in this bigger building is how people get in. They go in from the building side. So we will build a gatehouse. Okay, so this gatehouse, this will have the actual door. Alright, this will have more crenellations, because you can never have too many crenellations. And then, see, it's sort of slanting because I'm doing this at an angle, but that's okay. Your picture is fine however it is. Don't worry about all that kind of stuff. The more one practices, the more that you're able to release your own particular vision. If you say, well, I want the ground straighter, well, you can either pull out your eraser, or I recommend just going forward and seeing what else you can work on this one, because if you spend all your time erasing and erasing, unless you're low on paper, if you're low on paper, then go ahead and do some sort of erasure. But if you are not, then just keep going forward. They used to make windows really skinny back in the old days in their castles because they wanted to make sure that incoming arrows couldn't easily get in. It would make it a lot harder for archers to shoot arrows into the building and hurt people. So a lot of these things were designed to keep themselves safe from attack. Alright, so now we're going to put in some lines. Make bricks. Just checking. Alright, so now I have a scene here that I have drawn out. Oh, wait. Alright, speaking of erasers. Alright, I have the background this high over here, and then I drew it straight out over there. Should actually be this high to be consistent. So you do want to be a little consistent in your picture in general. You don't have to be, but we will just get our trusty eraser. There we go. See, things can be fixed. Alright, and if you want, you can make a little path. What else does this need? Maybe a flag. A pennant. Alright, so now we draw a pencil drawing. If we wanted to, we could draw some details of the rocks in there. And we could draw more details about the tower. But I think this is a pretty good starting point for doing a drawing. So your drawing, of course, will look whatever you want to. You could have just done the basic tower if you want, and that's plenty fine. Or you could have had your tower come up into anything else, any other kind of construction or castle, or you can make it into a windmill. There's all sorts of options that you can do. So try out your creativity and try different combinations of drawing things with the pencil, because this will be the starting point for any sort of next step that you take.